Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So today I have another pen in my collection that I will unbox and review for you. And this is a Sailor pen. Now it comes in this white outer cardboard box. So it's just a very basic box, not really expecting much here. However, if I turn it on its end, you'll see here that it's a Sailor 1911 large GT for gold trim, 21 carat, medium nib, but it's a Togi nib. So let's unbox this, remove the outer sleeve. So here you have what I would just class as a standard plastic type pen box. It's nothing to write home about, it's just a standard blue box. Typically these I tend not to keep, but this one I do because it's got a Naginata Togi nib on it. So let me open the box and I'll show you what it's about. So first off, if I tilt it back here, you'll see Sailor in the top here, and then you see the pen. So it's just a standard black, some might say boring pen, but it's the writing experience that really makes a difference with this pen. So let me just remove this out of the way, and I'll show you a few things that you get in here. Under, like literally under the shelf here, you have this sort of false bottom. You tend to have this in a lot of pen boxes, but you have a Sailor writing instrument manual, and majority of this I think is in Japanese. I think there's some in here in English, and it talks about the fountain pen, if I zoom in there a little bit, and then the ballpoint pen, and then the mechanical pencil, and then the rolling, they call it a rolling ball, not a roller ball. So here's the ballpoint, there's a mechanical pencil, and then there's a rolling ball. Yeah, I think that's probably lost a little bit in translation, but this is obviously from Japan. And then you have a directions of use for the Sailor ink converter. I think generally it's pretty standard knowledge now on how to fill from a converter, but I guess if you're buying this pen and you don't know how to use a converter, then I'm sure you can figure it out, but they include that there anyway, so I guess it's a nice touch. And then there's this Naginata Togi nib, and this basically goes through and it says this unique nib is handcrafted by Sailor's skilled specialist. The Naginata Togi Nib Tip is considerably longer than regular pen nib tips. The pen point is expertly ground and specially polished into a shape like the blade shape of the famous Naginata Japanese long sword. The pen nib was specially designed to write kanji, so it allows a broad range of writing angles and smooth calligraphy even when writing with light pressure. This is one of the supreme writing instruments produced by the craftsman's experienced skills. And they go on to say, we have also other specialist nibs showing the world the unlimited possibilities of nib design and craftsmanship. Please enjoy this special limited edition pen with a unique Sailor nib, personally handmade. So, and then on the back you have this like kind of pattern, which is kind of interesting. So that's it really. That's all you get in the box. And then obviously this is the pen. So let me show you the pen. It's really not a lot there. Like it's a black pen. And a lot of people find black pens boring. This one has a gold trim. It's Sailor 1911 large, not the standard version. So you have the cap frenule here, you have a ring band, and then you have the clip. And if I just zoom in here to the clip here, it's just a standard clip. And then the cap band here you'll see it says Sailor, Japan, founded 1911. So that is the pen. Now, then the pen tapers down, and then you have another gold band there, and then you have the finial. Now, this is a cartridge converter pen, so it really you don't need this end finial. It won't be removable. But so if I unscrew the pen here, you'll see, and this is why I like this nib. It is a Sailor Naginata Togi Nib, and I'll show you the reason why. So this is 21 carats. So it's quite a soft nib. But you'll see it's kind of like a sword, almost like what you would see on a swordfish. It's basically like a swordfish sort of nose, and it actually writes really, really well. It actually feels more like a broad, even though this is called the Naginata Medium Fine, or Naginata Medium. This specific nib is. This writes like a broad to a point. So these Naginata Togi nibs are really difficult to get hold of now in 2018. So back in, I think it was end of 2016, I want to say. Yeah, I think it was probably like September, October 2016. There was a change in the Sailor Nibmeisters who create these lovely nibs, and the head Nibmeister retired. So the son took over making these wonderful nibs, but they are in such high demand, not only the Naginata Togis, but also cross points and other nibs, that Sailor has said that there would be about an 18-month break on actual production of nibs, so that they could actually build up a better stock of nibs. So, and I guess that's probably the best way to do it, because if you're churning out, I don't know how many nibs they could churn out a month, but say they were churning out, I don't know, maybe five or probably 500 nibs a month or something, maybe in terms of specialty nibs, then you're always going to be chasing your tail, because you're never going to have enough nibs. So I think probably it's best to have that long break, build up a good selection of the various nibs, and then we almost restart the sales part of the nibs on new pens. So it's a shame though you cannot get these now. It's really difficult to find these Naginata Togis. If you want one, you're going to have to wait, I think they said it was around about October 2018. So I guess there's going to still be a little bit longer of a wait, but these will start filtering out soon, hopefully, and then you'll be able to pick these back up. But if you get the chance to pick up one of these Naginata Togis, or even just to try one, do try it, because these are really, really nice writers. I absolutely love this nib because of the way that the nib writes, and so I'll show you that in a little bit. But before that, we will do a size comparison and a weight check. Okay, so in terms of length, we're looking at around about 145 millimeters long. The cap itself is around about 68 millimeters. And then let's have a look at the full length of the body. So this is the large version. So to the tip of the tines, we're looking around about 124, 125 millimeters. This is a smaller pen, for sure. Like if I zoom in a little bit here, you'll see that. But you can post this, and it actually posts a lot longer. So it actually feels much better. So this is probably one of the few pens that I will actually post, because although it's not too short for my hand, I do find it on the shorter side. So from that perspective, I tend to post that more. So in terms of, and this is inked up presently. So inked up, we're looking at just under 25 grams for the entire weight of the pen, around about just under 8.5 grams for the cap, and then for the body of the pen inked up, we're looking at just over 13 grams. So this is a very light pen, for sure, and but it's a pen that I find is very, very comfortable in the hand. So I'll show you in terms of the filling system. It is just a standard international converter. Now, I don't actually have a lot of ink in there at the moment, but there's enough there to do a writing sample on. Now, I know some people have complained about Sailor converters not being made too well. To be honest, I've not had Sailor converters leak or fail, but I know some have. Some people have. So the other thing I guess to mention is that it's acrylic threads on a metal section. Now, I'm never a great fan of that. I would prefer metal on metal or acrylic on acrylic. But those threads are actually very nice and smooth. I have no problems with those threads whatsoever. So I think that's. Well, let's do a quick comparison with some other pens. So left to right, we have the TWSBI Mini AL. We have a Pelikan M600 turquoise white. We have a Pelikan M800 vibrant blue. A Pelikan M1000, which is considered definitely to be an oversized pen. Now, we also have the Sailor 1911 large, Naginata Togi, and as you can see, that's actually not far off in terms of length, really, of the M1000. The classic or the standard version will be a little bit smaller. We have a Classic Pens LM1, a Classic Pens LB5. We have a Visconti Opera Master Luna, which is a Goulet exclusive. We have the Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog, and we have an Atelier Lusso Carina. So let's do a writing sample now. This is the Sailor 1911 large, sometimes known as the Executive, and this is a Naginata Togi Nib, and it's a medium. So the idea is that basically this nib, you can probably see it a little bit better here. It's a swordfish style tip. So it basically gives you what is commonly known as an architect grind or a Hebrew nib. And so you'll see here, if I do the downstrokes with no pressure, okay, and then you do the cross strokes, you'll see that the cross strokes are actually thicker than the downstrokes. Normally you would have the downstrokes be thicker and the cross strokes normally thinner. So this is really what an architect nib will look like. Now the idea is that you can, in theory, do some very, and I'm going to try and do this with no pressure, some very almost vertical lines, and then if you then come down here a little bit more in angle, you get thicker lines. Now you'll see a little bit of a variation there. To be honest, I don't really get a lot from it. Like, the majority of it really is going to be in these verticals and these horizontals. Like, in terms of the wider sort of lines, you're going to see that more on a, say, a Sailor Zoom nib. But I find that this actually does actually give a little bit of variation to your handwriting, and it's just something that I really like how the nib writes. The nib itself is very smooth. Now, this is inked up with a new ink called Franklin Christoph Sweet Maroon that I have. It's not a new ink to Franklin Christoph, but it's a new ink in my collection. So let's just we'll do just a wetness test. So this really isn't that much of a wet ink and a wet nib, but it's wet enough to be wet so that it's not gonna like soak through to the rear of the page if you're writing in a journal. But I really do like this nib because you effectively get much better line variation. So it's just much better. In theory, it's just different. Not, I guess it's not better, but it's different than how a standard nib would write. Because the standard nib, you would have a wider downstroke. If it was going to be a wider nib, like a stub or a broad, and then you would have narrow cross strokes. So that's really, it's the opposite to what you would expect from, say, a broad nib, or a double broad or a stub nib. Or even, I guess, a extra fine or medium nib, because you are going to get this line variation here, and the line variation is going to be on the horizontals more than anything else. But this just, you can just see here that you're not going to see a huge amount of line variation there, but it's enough just to vary it. So your writing tends to take on a slightly different form, not a hugely different, but slightly different form. But the nib is so smooth. Now, in terms of reverse writing, we'll just do this. Now, this nib is almost impossible to write reverse. It's very scratchy, very dry. Now, I don't have any experience with other Naginata Togis, but this one really just does not, like, you feel as though it's going to run out of ink, but it is very scratchy. So this is not something that I would want to write with. I think I hardly ever write reverse with my nibs. I know some people do. This is definitely taking it from what would almost be like a broad nib down to like probably a super extra fine nib. Because like if I do this, then you'll see the difference there. It's sort of night and day difference. So if you wanted to write with it reverse, you could, but I think because of the way that the nib is probably ground, you can see there it's got like more of a point there. So you're really writing on that point tip if you're writing reverse. So personally, it's not something I would want to do, but I know some people do like to write reverse with their nibs. So that really is the Sailor 1911 large with a Naginata Togi. Now, you can pick up Sailor 1911 larges very easily online. Getting the specialty nibs like the Naginata Togis is a little bit more difficult, so just bear that in mind. If you can find one, you can get a reasonably good price on it, then I would say jump at it, because they are a really nice nib to write with, and I find the balance of the pen, the weight of the pen, just perfect. I tend to normally like oversized pens, but I find this size pen perfect when posted. Likewise, I also like the size of the Pelikan M800s or the Visconti Homo sapiens as well. So thanks for watching the video. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.